Welcome to Empty Tomb Ministries and Conversation Activity Games. Today we're going to talk about how with intentional thought and planning you can use conversation games to enhance vocabulary learning and mastery during class time. This is one game that we can use called Table Topics. They used to give them away, something similar at Chick-fil-A, but you can actually order them. You can choose specific questions. You can create your own questions. There are sets of questions online that you can use to get to worldview of your students. You can create your own from your lessons. But if you want to include specific questions that are based on your topic that can generate vocabulary, you can also include specific questions that get to the heart of your students' worldview, religious views, emotional views, family views, to learn more about your students. These are called conversation cubes and writing prompt cues. I don't suggest doing too much writing make sure you choose ones that are not too advanced for your learners, but they basically roll the dice. I would have your vocabulary written on the board so they know what kinds of words they want to work into their conversation as much as possible. This is the old-fashioned, I believe we called it druthers, but it's basically would you rather, and it gives them a dilemma. There are ESL would you rather games online that you can get for free. You don't have to buy one, or you can just create your own. I gave my son the choice of no more lasagna or no more Pokemon cards. Just create your own dilemma. These are called story cubes. You can get them online, you can get them at the store, but they are just dice with funny pictures on them. You can select a number of dice, 1, 2, 3, or all of them, and they just create their own stories. Again, having the vocabulary on the board will help them use the vocabulary you are practicing. The lower level students may only create one sentence by choosing one of the dice that they roll, but the higher level students can link the dice together to create a story. They may start making rounds where they add on to the story. You can just have a lot of fun by just making up silly stories. These are non-political, non-targeted. They don't have any sort of agenda. They're just funny, silly pictures. These are called caption this cards. They're just random pictures and they have questions on the back. So if you choose the correct questions, you can get, the correct pictures, you can get students to ask questions that will help them practice your vocabulary and also learn more about what your students are thinking. You can have one student read the question to one specific student or to every student in the class. And you can have them take turns. This is a game called Life Adventures. Students generate independent conversation and vocabulary. You can use this in mixed level classes. It's good for a substitute day or a conversation cafe where you don't necessarily have a textbook generating your activity. This is a game called Life Stories. This is good for a conversation class. It has a good blend of question cards in different categories, and it allows them to share stories, tell different life viewpoints. So they are going to generate their own independent vocabulary, but they share their personal values and beliefs. This is an excellent game, especially if you're trying to get at the faith values of your students. It also lets you know where your students are at in their personal life. You can really get to a lot of soul searching emotional connections with your students. This are simply a lot of pictures, and you ask them questions, and they choose the pictures that they feel demonstrate that answer, and they explain them. There are several just regular old card games and board games that we used to play that you use in a modified way for ESL. There are several different ways to use Uno, playing cards, and other things. You just make a rule that you attach to gameplay. So, for example, you put your target words on the board in two groups. When you play a blue color card, you create a sentence from list A. When you play a green card, you create a sentence from list B. When you play red, you use a question with word list A. When you play yellow, you create a question from list B. When you play wild cards, you can use grammar forms, or then maybe then they don't have to do anything. So you can do anything like that. Just you just attach a rule to gameplay. This is a find someone who, but basically bingo. You just There are many forms of bingo you can find free online. This was an icebreaker bingo, but you can find lots of different kinds of bingo. So those are some conversation activity games. There are many, many more. If you have any questions on how to use these particular games, if you have some activity suggestions, if you have questions about where to get these resources, or just want more information, feel free to email me or contact me and I'll be happy to help you.